Welcome to the Anton Stentner podcast, and today we're talking about Katie Wilson's win over Bruce Harrell for the Seattle mayoral race, and she won by 1,673 votes. What does this mean for the city of Seattle? What does it mean for the Seattle region? And what does it mean for real estate in the area? Anton, talk to me about what is going on and what this means.
First, all I can say is wow. This is one of those ones you're like, this was a bad idea. And this bad idea went wrong and it just happened. Seattle just elected a self-described socialist. And basically every business owner, every real estate holder, the value of their real estate, the value of their business just dropped like the stock market.
Really?
This week. Here's why. And we'll get into this here in just a second. But this is Seattle basically reinforcing their doom loop. Seattle already has a 35% vacancy rate in A-class commercial real estate in downtown. And that's like, if you were to walk down your street and you look around and 1 in every 3 homes was just completely vacant. That's what it's like downtown. It's turning into an economic crater. And so what did Seattle do to fix this? They didn't elect the turnaround CEO, the person to come in and fix the problem. They elected Katie Wilson, the self-described democratic socialist and community organizer who wants to Trump-proof Seattle. So during this, we're not going to look at the feelings. We're going to look at the data. We're going to talk about what the data is, where it's going, how Seattle has a massive deficit right now, how businesses are fleeing, and how we're talking about putting in government-run grocery stores. And we'll show you why Seattle's basically in the process of imploding and a specific failure that's going to create opportunity around the Seattle metro here in Washington if you really know where to look. So ignore the headlines. If you're one of our subscribers and you like smart money and understanding what's happening here, the Seattle Metro, Washington State, smash that subscribe button and follow us along for more opportunities.
That's right. So the big question is, how did Katie Wilson win? By the way, we don't reside in the Seattle area.
We don't live in Seattle proper.
We're right on the outside of Seattle, but everyone was paying attention. And, one of my big questions was, who else was running?
Yeah.
I don't think any Republicans even ran.
No. You could never get elected.
Which is crazy that there isn't that balance of options. And Katie Wilson ran against another Democrat, Bruce Harrell.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I just thought because of the direction Seattle's going, I thought he had it in the bag. But then to win by like 1,000 votes,
yeah.
How did she win?
So on election night, and Harrell is more of the kind of moderate Democrat. And so on election night, he was up as they were counting between 46 to 53%. So it looked like he won. And then Wilson wins by 1,673 votes after the late ballots. So Washington State's mail-in ballot system gave us the biggest blue shift in history. So the people who actually showed up to the ballot box wanted law and order, kind of a more moderate Democrat. And the people who mailed in their ballot wanted free everything, and then guess who won? Well, we know who won. Katie's side won. This is one of the craziest things that she said. So at first I was like, all right, who is this woman? I gotta go do some research. I sat down, I read article after article after article. I watched news interviews, go through my AI models, go do a bunch of deep research so I can get full papers on her. The craziest thing she said was, we will not allow private grocery stores to close, and that everyone deserves access to affordable, healthy food because it's a basic right. Now, I love that part. I'm not going to lie. I'm a foodie. You're a foodie. We love eating good food. So that kind of resonates with me. But at the same time, she says that we're not going to allow corporations to create these food deserts and leave communities for profitability reasons. what country do we live in? Like, she literally put on the communist smiley face and said the quiet part out loud. I'm going to control your business and tell you what to do. Are you freaking kidding me? Second, I'm going to force a business to stay open. Well, why are businesses closing? Businesses close, especially in like the grocery store, because they're running on like a 2 to 3% profit margin, and they're unprofitable. And they're having to pay hazard pay to some of their workers. And they can't stay open late at night because that's when the theft is going through the roof. So you go to some of these grocery stores, and what will happen is they may have 2 to 3 entrances. Only one entrance will be open. The other 2 will be closed to help to prevent the theft. And the reason they're leaving is because that profit margin being razor thin, you've got highest minimum wage, and it's going up again, because Seattle raised theirs to almost $21 next year. You've got really high rents. You have unsafe work conditions. So it's no wonder that some of these places are closing. And then your solution is that you say the city of Seattle is going to basically run their own QFC and they're going to do a better job than a corporation. What's Seattle's track record right now of running a business? Like, just guess for 2 seconds.
Track record for running a business in terms of like that
so
stays
just
open.
Just look at the government of Seattle.
Okay.
And are they on budget?
Or definitely over budget.
Do you know by how much?
Okay, let's just pulling this out of nowhere. I want to say like 30 to 40%.
$250 million, $250 million over budget.
Where's the money coming from for the extra?
Well, it's almost like under budget because it's the lack of tax revenue collected. They have a $250 million deficit right now.
Yeah, because of all the vacancies and lack of taxes they can collect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The solution isn't raise taxes. It's actually, I mean, I'm going to totally sound very conservative in what I'm saying, but you got to attract the businesses back, right? Like,
imagine that.
Right? Because, okay, let's just think through the logic of this. I know that this is not like a conspiracy theory or just like completely, unhinged thoughts. When you go into downtown, it is generally not a safe feeling. I don't know if I told you this, but I was there with my girls and Judy, my wife, right? All 7 of us. And a homeless person tried to kick one of the girls.
Oh, geez.
And I had to get in his face. Like I had to, between the girls, okay? That's never happened in all the years. There's always been like homeless or people there. Yeah. Secondly, there's crazy amounts of vacancies in Seattle. That is not that's not like a theory. When I'm at the hotels, because we do staycations sometimes in downtown, and I look across the way, empty floors as far as I can see. And when I go there year after year after year, I'm like, how are these buildings even staying in business? They probably are stressed out. I bet you they're like being sold to different people or on sale forever. And then third, I just see businesses closing down. Like, you want to talk about why grocery stores are closing down? Yeah. Part of it is because the violence and the theft. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to why I'm saying this about like, you can't just raise taxes and think you're going to fix it.
But that's her whole platform.
You need the businesses to pay the taxes. You need the employees working for these businesses to pay their taxes. We saw that's why I'm ranting a little bit. What you're saying about them being over budget because they're actually like coming in under in terms of the revenue they need is because there's a lack of people paying the current taxes.
Correct.
So if all those people have fled, and we know this because we know a lot of people that don't want to live in downtown, have moved out of downtown. And I'm not like, hey, let's go there and like get a unit. Look, just nobody wants to. And you see it by all these big businesses like a Nike and I guess Cheesecake Factory is closing, which is nuts. Okay.
Okay, hold on. I was going to go over this later, but look at this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, just name them off.
All right. So retail locations that have left. Nike, Lululemon, North Face, Vans, Saks, Carhartt, Old Navy. And these are closures from 2023 to today. Also Miss Banana Republic. And then you got Taco Time, Vito's, Target, Bartell Drugs, Catfish Corner, Amazon Go. I mean, it's just like the list just keeps going on and on of all the businesses that have already closed or left.
And of course, a lot of them are grocery stores or places people get food.
Correct.
And so why, Katie, I'm thinking about logic. I'm going to steel man her position. Why she'd want to keep these open? Because there needs to be some way to get food.
You have to be able to feed people.
So
Absolutely.
I understand the intention, but it's not the forcing of a failing business to stay open. That's the solution, in my opinion, is how do you make it so that these businesses can succeed and want to stay open?
How do you create a positive business climate where you've got walk-ins, drive-ins, happy consumers, safe consumers, staff that is making, good wages to be there, who wants to be there, who feels safe to be there, and not being robbed all the time, and not having the homeless people sleeping on, your doorstep. Part of the issue, with this, when I was digging through all this, homelessness is up like 23% right now in Seattle. I mean, it's up significantly. You can see it in the numbers. The next thing I said was like, just to kind of shift gears and move into our next topic, it was like, well, who is Katie Wilson? Like, where did this person come from? She grew up in New York and did phenomenal in high school. And she was going to Oxford University in England, withdrew a few weeks before, didn't complete her degree, moved to Seattle in 2004. P.S. When I say didn't complete her degree, I don't mean that negatively. I don't think you have to have a college education to be wildly successful. I believe it helps a lot of people. I was one of the people it helped, taught me how to think. Even though I got a degree in biochemistry, I sell real estate. We do real estate business. We do real estate investing, but that taught me how to think. So there's no shade there. She moved to Seattle in 2004, held various jobs, including barista, lab tech, boatyard worker, apartment manager, before becoming a full-time nonprofit and political organizer. It's a pretty impressive resume. You should run one of the greatest cities in the nation, a tech powerhouse. Then she co-founded the Transit Riders Union in 2011, which was a grassroots nonprofit advocating for better public transportation. Then she got involved in the Jumpstart Payroll expense tax for Seattle. This is a progressive tax that's paid by the employers and not deducted from the employees' wages. It is designed for compensation paid to high-earning individual employees in Seattle. Okay, so you're attacking high-income earners, and you're attacking the business, and you go, why is the business leaving? These taxes, Benji, range from 0.75 to 2.5%. And they include salary bonuses, stock options, RSUs, anything that provides income. So what this tax did was it allowed the city to attack the high income earners. Well, then what? And we just talked about, hey, Amazon just laid off 14,000 people. Oh, how many did they lay off in Bellevue? Oh, like 260. The majority was downtown Seattle. Why? It's because of things like this. It's already generated 360 to around 430 million annually from just a handful of companies. And this is separate from a newer 2025 excess compensation tax that is, and this wasn't her, but this is just another one in downtown Seattle, that is 5% flat on any employee making over 1 million. That was a voter-approved initiative for social housing. So her whole campaign was, she's talking about building more housing or affordable housing. She did mention building and affordable housing. I don't like the word affordable housing. Affordable housing is generally solved by the government simply building apartments, and they call that affordable housing. A word I prefer is attainable home ownership. That is where the first-time home buyer can afford to purchase a home in the area, which doesn't have to necessarily be a condo or a townhome. Well, why is Seattle not building enough units? Zoning, red tape, all the NIMBYs. Also, expanding of social services, more progressive taxation, and protecting the city from federal overreach from the incoming Trump administration. That's her whole platform. When you look at that, you go, wait a second. This person's never run a business, never had a job where they've managed a bunch of people. There is some accusations, I couldn't prove this one way or another, that she receives support from mommy and daddy. So she's receiving this is allegedly, okay, so this is not proven, receiving checks, but then talking about wealth redistribution. Very interesting. Lives in an apartment in Capitol Hill, so also not a homeowner. And her whole thing is all about taxation to redistribute. If Seattle is already experiencing issues, this is just, it's like the ship is sinking and you're just throwing extra weight on the ship and then shooting more holes in it so it just sinks faster.
Yeah, logically, if you decide to stay in Seattle and you like the city for whatever reason, okay, you're putting up with all the, like downsides, okay?
Yep.
Seattle's still a beautiful place. They redid the waterfront.
Oh, gorgeous.
They're
yes.
improving things, but not just my anecdotal example or experience, but just what so many other people say. There's enough where you're like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go look at Bellevue or go somewhere else, or maybe even move to another state.
Yes.
So those people that decide to stay in spite of all that, tax them more. Nobody wants to pay more taxes. Nobody. And it's not a conservative thing, a liberal thing, a Democrat, Republican. It's just period. So then you could probably push out, and the mentality from what I see, right, is two things from people that want to tax the rich. Oh, if they want to leave, just let them leave. Or two, they're like, oh, they're not going to leave. Well, they'll have to pay like an exit tax. I'm not in politics. I don't know how this works. And I'm not just saying the headlines. I'm like seeing what they actually say in their speeches.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, to me, I'm like, well, then where's the incentive for them to stay at that point, right?
Bingo.
And so those are the people own businesses or run businesses. And so if they sell, it's just going to stress the whole market. And, I said this many times now. When I went to the downtown YMCA to work out,
yes,
and I went there early in the morning thinking, hey, it's probably not that busy because people work out maybe like after work or during the day on their break or at lunch or whatever, right? So I didn't think anything of it because I'm used to going into the YMCA just busy all day. And then later in the day, I needed to go use the bathroom. So I went back to there because I was hanging out in downtown for meetings. At the end of the day, it was way less people. It was actually... it was even more empty.
It was more dead.
And then just I was like, just curious, why is this so empty? Oh, it's been like that for years. Yeah. I'm like, you mean like all day, all the time? He's like, yeah. It's like, is there any times where it gets more busy? And they said, no. I'm like, how's this? I just came out of my mouth. I was like, how does this place stay open? She's like, I don't know. I hope we do stay open. And that's just the thing about a YMCA, like a community center, a gym. That's not just like one business. That's a reflection of the whole community.
Absolutely.
Because our YMCA, other YMCAs, that's where everyone gathers, not just to work out, but for the kids to hang out, on programming, and doing all kinds of community things.
I think you could actually call that like a signal of a stable community, a community that's either growing or declining. It shows you also what's happening to not only the community, but the middle class in that specific area. If the middle class is established and growing, they are part of the community, they're bringing their kids there, they're working out there, they're part of those activities. And when cities start losing that community feel, you get the flight. And it's a doom loop that keeps reinforcing itself.
You tell me if this is correct. I think I love the YMCA, by the way, but I think one of the only reasons they can even survive is because they're a nonprofit. So they might not have to pay as much taxes.
And they've owned a lot of their buildings forever. They've been in those locations for very long periods of time. So you're absolutely correct. It's that nonprofit status.
Because if you have any other business, including like a restaurant, that's empty all
just
day,
game over.
Game over.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's what's probably happening to a lot of grocery stores too. So if you force them to stay open, well, then the question is, who's going to pay for them to stay open?
Well, for her, government subsidized grocery store idea to work, what would happen is the government would have to massively subsidize it in order to keep anything affordable. So if a grocery store is operating on a 3% margin, just assume it would cost the government 30 to 40% to do the same thing. Because what they would do instead is they would have prevailing wages and only special contracts from only special places, and everything would have to fit into a really specific box, which would, in turn drive up that price. You can see this every time the government does an affordable housing project. Anytime the government does an affordable housing project, it ends up costing 10x more than it should. And it's not quite 10x, but I forget who it was. This is back when Inslee proposed something and they were talking about the cost per unit. My partner and I sat down and we ran through them, and we realized that we could build what they were talking about for about 40% of the cost.
On that note, are we going to get into real estate? Are we going to
We're
talk
going to
about
get into
her
real
policies?
estate. I want to talk about kind of this doom loop idea a little bit more. And then we're going to get into all right, well, if this is happening in Seattle, what is your opportunity? Where is that opportunity going? The doom loop is kind of simple. So we had remote work during COVID. And people were like, all right, I'm moving out of the city. I'm moving to the burbs. And some of them even moved to other states. That created vacancies in the downtown area between 27 to 35%, aka less foot traffic. So foot traffic, as measured right now, is down 33% from pre-COVID. Well,
Foot traffic of what?
Foot traffic into retail shops, into grocery stores,
Jeez.
into restaurants. Okay, 33% from pre-COVID has not recovered. So, well, what does that mean? That means less revenue, which leads to business closures. Well, business closures lead to, less people, and less people leads to a drop in safety. So what's interesting is when there's more people around, it does create its own natural level of safety just by the sheer number of people.
Yeah, right, totally.
Well, that drop in safety causes more people to leave. Seattle is in a doom loop. We are literally watching the decline of the Emerald City right in front of us, and it's spinning down. They have to fix this or improve this, or this just turns into a black hole. Then in turn, we've already talked about it on many episodes. Our subscribers have heard this one before. Commercial real estate in downtown Seattle, especially the office sector, is just beat up. There are deals, but the question is how long will it take it to come back? Because everything goes through cycles, right? So I believe it will come back. I'm an optimist, so I believe it will come back. I just think it's going to take years at this rate. So it could be 5, 10, 20 years from now before it comes back because they're headed in the wrong direction. And if you were to start a business, would you want homelessness,
No.
high crime,
No. 30% less foot traffic? No.
33% less foot traffic, high minimum wage? Would
No.
you feel comfortable starting a business in downtown Seattle right now? Comment yes if you feel comfortable, and I wish you the best of luck. And comment no if you're like, no, that's not going to happen. And what I'm curious though is, are there, what percentage, and I couldn't find this data, what percentage of new businesses are actually starting in downtown Seattle right now? I bet it's pretty low is the moral of the
Well,
story.
I know, based off of what you said, if you talk to other business owners and then you want to get advice from other business owners about starting, how many of those business owners let's go into downtown right now. Let's get you set up right here next to this shop that just got their windows broken. I sound kind of emotional about this, even though I don't live there, but I say it because I see business owners getting on TV, onto the news, talking about this. There's a lot of people that have really their lives have been challenged by all this. Then it's not rich people.
It's sad.
These are mom and pop businesses that are dealing with all of it.
And some of these have been open for a long time. So Catfish Corner, a diner, has been there for 40 years. And the reason they cited that they closed was the increasing labor costs is preventing their margin.
Don't get me started about minimum wage.
Okay? The police crisis.
Oh, no.
So you can't enforce the laws if you don't just even have enough cops. Not to mention, the second they put someone in jail, they just let them back out.
What does Katie Wilson say about police and her policies there?
She's she's not really weighing in one way or another. I just wanted to make a specific point. And the specific point is the SPD staffing today is at a 30-year low. They're down hundreds of officers based on the population, despite the
30-year low by like per capita or just in general?
Just in general.
Just in general.
So that stat didn't say, that wasn't factored for population growth. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to look at ChatGPT. Hopefully you're correct today. What was the population of Seattle in 1995 versus 2025? Let's see what it says. Okay, this is just a ChatGPT. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay, I'll tell you what today's population is. 800,000 people live in Seattle. Okay,
Seattle
so that's
proper.
like Seattle proper, not like the metropolitan greater area. How many in 1995 you think it is?
500,000?
500,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
wait a second. I may look at data a little bit.
if there's 30% less people enforcing the laws, but the population has grown by 50%, is that about correct? Maybe more than 50%?
What is that? 5, 8.
It's even more.
Yeah. No, that's not 50% because 50% would be
250,000.
Oh, that would be 250,000.
Yeah.
You're
So
correct,
it's like 50, maybe 60% even.
Yeah.
But less people. So that means less police officers managing and supervising and helping, serving more people.
More tough on crime or more liberal on crime during that time period?
Oh, it's without hesitation. Whether there's other intentions or motives or good policy trying to be put in place to help people, it's definitely way more lax. People go get arrested or whatever,
Yes.
go to jail and then get let out, and then they're committing crimes again. Not everybody, right? But enough people. And then it slowly builds and builds. I mean, it's crazy.
So-
and then there becomes an environment of like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Bingo.
We know this because
Yeah.
people walk into stores and steal stuff, and there's not enough police to,
and you're seeing even those organized ones where they're not one person walking in, it's groups
mob
of
of 'em.
people walking in as a mob to grab stuff. Despite spending billions, King County homelessness is up 23%.
pause.
Despite spending billions, King County homelessness is up 23%. And we are essentially paying more to get less results. The King County Regional Homeless Authority, it's KCRHA, just failed one of their financial audits. A state audit revealed that KCRHA's financial statements were off by $30 million due to internal control deficits and lack of review. So these structural issues are what's killing Seattle right now. Is we have revenue shortfalls, high crime, which is fourth worst nationally, homelessness growing, a massive affordability crisis. And this affordability crisis is where housing is above 50% national averages. Seattle itself is in a $250 million deficit. So this doom loop is just continuing. It's just widening. And what I actually believe is happening with things like this homelessness issue is people are just profiting off of this as the homeless industrial complex. And you can't tell me there's 30 million that they don't know where it went or what, wasn't spent correctly, and somebody's not making money somewhere. That's the unfortunate part about this. Because homelessness is generally affordability, addiction, and other mental health problems. So it's a combination of multiple problems, and we need to have some care for these people, but we also can't let this problem just keep growing. It's just growing out of control in downtown Seattle.
So what's some of the tax policies that Katie Wilson has?
So her whole thing is basically redistribution of wealth, tax and spend, tax and spend. And she's talking about a local capital gains tax to supplement the state tax targeting wealthy residents. A vacancy tax on property owners. So we talked about those office buildings that are vacant, the retail locations that are vacant. She's talking about putting a vacancy tax on them to tax them for having a vacant building.
So it would motivate them. Again, I'm always wanting to be fair, right? Like, where's the strategy involved? If you have a vacancy tax on these property owners that have vacant units, which I know for a fact, I've been saying this, then it would motivate them to try to get it rented out. And to do that, you might have to lower your rent, right?
Yep.
Or what you're willing to take, even if it means that you're going negative. Now, let's just play this out, okay? Kind of sounds smart if you don't want to pay that vacancy tax and go lower. But how long if you're, like underwater on your mortgage, so you're like owe more to the bank than you can get in revenue? They can't last forever.
No, so most commercial debt has what's called a debt service coverage ratio, which means you have to have generally like 1.25 times the debt coming in. So that's one. And then
it's not possible for a lot of people.
It's possible for a period of time, but it's not possible long term.
Tell me what that period of time is.
It's going to depend on the bank and the note specifically, but it could be anywhere between 1 to 3 years, 6 months, but it's not going to go longer than 5 years.
So enough for one mayoral, like, what do you call it? Like the amount of time term.
For the 4-year term that she's going to be in, yes, some of this will roll over.
Do you think someone like her would know this? Like,
no, absolutely not.
But like, wouldn't you like think if you're going to create a policy or you're going to do a taxation like this?
So I would love that to be the case. But what I see from politicians in general is they don't go do the research or have any firsthand experience or knowledge about the policy that they are implementing. Let me give you another just weird example I just saw. One city that we're looking in right now says an ADU can only have 2 bedrooms. And I was looking at that and it was like, an accessory dwelling unit, whether attached or detached, could only have 2 bedrooms? And then my brain goes, you elitist piece of shit. And it actually kind of made me angry. I was like, you're saying that you can have 2 kids, but someone who's a first-time home buyer or the lower end of the income bracket couldn't get a smaller, affordable accessory dwelling unit or detached accessory dwelling unit. Is this in
Snohomish County or King County?
This is in Snohomish County. I'm not going to name the city because I'm actually going to go fight them and get this overturned. But it made me angry because you're literally preventing the first-time home buyer from creating equity. You're saying, oh, it's good for me, but it's not good for them because we're not building those starter homes. That is our only starter homes. So as people put together these policies, they may be well-intentioned. Okay, I wasn't there for the meeting, but they may be well-intentioned, but they don't go through the second order, third order, and fourth order effects and look long-term into what's happening. They also then don't go and do the research to see, hey, has rent control ever failed in other areas? Yeah, it has, and multiple times. What's Seattle talking about? More rent control. What's Katie Wilson talking about? More rent control. Excise tax on professional services, including additional B&O, expansion of the Jumpstart tax, additional digital advertising tax. So right now in Washington State, we just started, if someone's running pay-per-click ads, they're going to charge you sales tax. Other places don't do that. So there was a business that was on the news that was over there in Kirkland. He's been in business for like 18 years. He said, I'm closing. There goes my margin, because it just goes to sales tax. She's talking about an additional one for downtown Seattle. Well, what will they do? They'll move out of Seattle or move out of the state because in internet business, they don't have to be in that physical location. She also, you mentioned this too, so you nailed it on the head, was looking at the exit tax or a wealth defense tax, AKA if they say, you know what, Bill's trying to leave the area, Susie's trying to leave the area, they have high income, high wealth. Because they are leaving, we're going to tax them for leaving. What's that going to, it's just going to naturally drive more people out.
Sooner.
And here's the trick of all taxes. Income tax in the United States was originally only introduced for that evil 1%. And now don't all of you pay income taxes at literally every income level? So they start out with, oh, this is just for rich people. But then they go into another revenue shortfall. So then that goes down and down and down. In 1913, our original income tax was designed to only tax rich people. And guess what? Everybody pays it today. Seattle's burning. Let's just be blunt. Seattle is in a doom loop. Should you sell everything and move to Texas? No. But here's kind of our plot twist and where we think you should be looking and how you should be repositioning. What did Amazon do? We already talked about it earlier. They moved from Seattle to
Bellevue.
If you look at Seattle and kind of just the downtown King County, here's what's going to happen because of these policies and over the next 4 years. And this is what's creating that opportunity. Most of the money is going to move to the east side, which is going to be Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland. Okay? Because Bellevue, much lower crime, much less homelessness, much cleaner, way higher foot traffic, less vacancy rates, and what for the first time in history, office lease spaces in Bellevue are now more than they were in Seattle.
They're more now?
Yeah, more on a price per square foot basis.
In Bellevue.
In Bellevue.
Wow.
Okay, so expensive stuff's gonna move over there to the east side. Stuff that's less expensive or needs a little bit better value is going to go into Snohomish County. And then people who need really, really deep values are going to go to southeast King County. I'm talking out there, Buckley, Sumner, Bonnie Lake, just, kind of, I call it the boonies. It's beautiful out there, but to me, it's the boonies. That's what's going to happen. You're literally just cutting it right out of the heart of Seattle, right there on the I-5 corridor. Move to the east side, and a lot will push into Snohomish County. It'll be east side first, Snohomish County second, and then southeast King County third. Of course, some other counties may get some spillover. And so what does that create for us as like real estate plays? Well, think about that. You're going to have people looking for office space. You're going to have workers looking for affordable apartment units. You're going to have people looking for stuff around the median price, single families, townhomes, condos, these ADUs, these DADUs. We've talked about it many times. Please understand, I believe the ADU DADU play here in Washington State is one of your best investments. We have other videos on that. Go check them out. It's also going to create a need for higher end rentals. So a lot of Seattle is very affluent too. But if these affluent people are being chased out of Seattle, that's going to create demand for high-end rentals in Snohomish County and over there on the east side. And when I say high-end rentals, think like a 2,800 to like a 3,500 square foot home, like a big single family that is close to amenities or in the right school district or maybe has room to park a boat or an RV. But this is going to create more artificial demand for those. So what's funny is this plays right into our thesis of things that we're always doing. We're always hunting for these things.
Why? Why are you hunting for these things?
We're hunting for these things because the market will give you a base level return. And if you're going to be a student of real estate investing, you're going to follow the data and then use that data to create outsized returns above and beyond the market. So we're playing in the luxury rental space with a specific community that we're in the process of putting together and building. We're playing in the ADU DADU space, and we're playing in the middle housing. And while at the same time continuing to do our just traditional development projects that we offload to our builders, developers, investors. And if you guys want to play with us, you can reach us at 425-249-0214 or hit us at resg.com. In closing, Seattle has a $250 million deficit, a socialist mayor, and a hostile business climate that is causing the doom loop to spin even faster. So Seattle, it's not fully dying, but it's going to go through a little bit of a dumpster fire and a fire sale, which may create long-term opportunities. I'm the guy, if you're going to invest in Seattle, I think you need to wait. You need to wait to see how this plays out for 24 months, or so, and then look at that wealth transfer to hit those three big areas that we just talked about and be looking for opportunities outside of Seattle. And then long-term, be looking to buy the dip in Seattle. I think it's going to be a great dip opportunity. We just got to wait till the data says that the bottom is here. And as always, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, and we will share more data and more economic and financial news for Washington State in the next one. Drop us any questions and comments below.